Hello, I'm attorney Brad Mickler. I'm the managing member of the Mickler Law Group, which is a law firm concentrated in divorce, custody, and family law issues, and located in Nutley, New Jersey, serving most of northern and central New Jersey. I'm making this video of the 10 most common divorce consultation questions based on a handout I give to my consultations when I meet with them, because I find that they're the most commonly asked questions. I like to have them answered, addressed first, so that the time we spend together will actually be diving into the more important issues. So I'm hoping these questions will help you accomplish the same thing. So the first question I most commonly get is, how much will this cost? And that's a very difficult question to ask. All divorces are going to be different, and the costs are going to vary depending on the complexity of the issues, the relationship of the parties, meaning how reasonable and how well they get along with one another, and also the court's scheduling, both how promptly they schedule your matters and how quickly they get you in and out of court. The second question is, how long is my divorce likely to last? And that's, any divorce is going to take anywhere from between 4 and 18 months. The third one is, how many times will I expect to be in court? And again, that, like most answers I'm going to address today, will vary, but the average amount of appearances you can have are going to be anywhere between 5 and 10. You're going to have probably 2 case management conferences, which are scheduling conferences where the court determines what needs to be completed with your case, what information needs to be exchanged, and when you return to court. So you have 2 of those. You'll have something called an early settlement panel, which is a settlement conference that the court sponsors for you. You'll have an intensive settlement conference, which is usually held at a private attorney's office, and you'll have either a final hearing or a trial date. Now, the trial date's likely to be more than 1 day, but those will be the minimal 5 that you could expect to have, and maybe several others along the way. The next question, number 4, is, will I be able to have my spouse pay my legal fees? Now, there is support in the case law to have a spouse pay legal fees. There's several issues the court looks at. Mainly, they're going to look or focus on income disparity between the 2 parents or parties, and whether there's good or faith in the positions that were taken. Now, I generally tell my clients, even though the law does allow for it, don't expect to actually have it happen. 1, it doesn't happen too often. 2, even if it does, or when it does, it's better to not expect it so you're ahead of the game than to go in relying upon it and then be left with less than you expected. Number 5 is either going to be, how long will I pay alimony or how long will I receive alimony? And that, unfortunately, like most things I'm going to address, there is no bright line rule for that. The law does say that if your marriage is 20 years or less, the term cannot be longer than the length of your marriage. That doesn't mean that when it's more than 20, it has to be more. It just says if it's less than 20, it cannot be more. As a guiding rule, I usually tell clients to expect anywhere from 50 to 75% of the length of the marriage is about where the most terms will fall, or at least the maximum term will fall. Rarely will it be the exact term or length of the marriage, but it is possible. Number 6, how is child support going to be calculated? New Jersey calculates child support using a child support guideline. It's an income-based approach where they take the parents' incomes and they combine it, and that produces a set child support amount that the non-custodial parent will pay to the custodial parent. The number that is calculated in the guideline is adjusted based on how many overnights the other parent has, who's paying for medical care and how much is it, medical insurance. Are there daycare expenses? That gets added in on a pro rata basis. And it will also be adjusted for any special recurring expenses like medical bills or special needs that may need to be factored in. Number 7 is what happens either if I lose my job or if my spouse who's paying me support loses his or her job. That person would need to file a motion to modify support. Generally, the court's going to require that they wait 2 or 3 months before accepting the application, because the loss of employment needs to be considered more than temporary. And the courts generally don't consider it more than temporary if you have not been unemployed and seeking comparable employment for at least 2 or 3 months. Once the application is filed, the court's going to have to determine if there is a material and substantial change of circumstances, and whether or not there should be a modification of the support based on the either new unemployment or the new employment rate that they may find themselves in after losing their last job. Number 8 is, what happens if my spouse doesn't answer? The court will give the other party 35 days after they're personally served with papers. They do not need to sign them, which is a popular misconception with a lot of people, but they do need to be physically handed them in most circumstances. If they don't file an answer in 35 days, the court will close off their ability to file an answer. You'll have to file certain papers to preserve that and certain papers to notify the court of what relief you're seeking for a final hearing, and the court will then schedule a final hearing where you can come in and put your divorce through. Number 9 is, will I either pay or will I receive temporary support while my divorce is pending? That also will depend a lot on your circumstances. The courts are generally going to look to preserve the status quo that existed before you filed. So if you were a stay-at-home spouse, or if you were supporting a stay-at-home spouse, you are likely to be continuing to do that during the divorce process. If there are young children, there's going to be child support. If there are assets or debts that need to be preserved and there's an income discrepancy, the court will also usually order continuing support during the divorce case, which doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be support after the case. It's really to maintain the status quo, which is a different standard than the alimony that we discussed a moment ago. And lastly, what will my case cost if I go to trial? And first, let me say it's highly unlikely you will actually go to trial. Less than 1% of all divorces in New Jersey do go to trial, but if yours does, you could anticipate significant legal fees. Now, I usually tell people expect anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 in legal fees if you're going to go to trial, because that means you have complicated issues and a complete impasse, so the resolution is not possible. And because trial is usually not conducted and concluded on the same day, it's usually going to be more than one day. So those are the fees you should consider as far as your budget goes. It may also be something that you weigh when you're deciding whether or not to accept a prior offered settlement, or when you're about to go to trial if you want to try to settle based on those terms. I hope this information helps you, clears out the main issues that most people will ask me. If you have more questions on the divorce process, you can go to our website, which is micklinlawgroup.com. That's MICKLIN lawgroup.com. There are downloads on the first page. There are video consultation, where I have simple questions and answers video on the website. I also have much longer webinars on a webinar archive page, where I dive much deeper into different topics of the law every month, and I post them there. The information is free. You're not required to give me an email address. You don't have to fill out any forms. All you do is you find the information that you want to access, you click on it, and it's downloaded right for you. Watch as many as you want, file it to anybody, or send them to anybody you think might benefit from it. And if you need any more help other than that, feel free to call us at 973-562-0100. Thank you.